This is just a summary of what you should feel in your 20s, because basically those videos do well with the algorithm. But it is a summary of a bunch of other videos that I've done that kind of lace all of this together. So this is just a turbo choco bar of energy, goodness, and tastiness. Nutritious. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, because you'll want to like and subscribe to this channel, mind you. You really will, because this is going to put you on the right track in life. Because listen to the gym that this one's about, all right? What I wish I knew in my 20s, and I'm going to make two arguments here. The first one is that, all right, people just understand that this is the lay of the land, because when people are surveyed in their 30s, there's two things that they end up saying. If they hunkered down in their 20s, they are going to say, I wish that I partied, sex, drugs, and rock and rolled more. I'm guilty as charged in that category. But the people that didn't, I think, are in a much worse position for the rest of their life, because they, sex, drugs, and rock and rolled their 20s away. And then when it came to winter, which is your 30s, welcome aboard. All of a sudden, you'll be really into real estate for no reason. If you're in that category, that is a cold, cold place to be. Is it really worth going to a party where you ended up eating out some chick on the toilet at your friend's house if by the end of your 20s you have $0 in your bank account and zero skills? Is it really worth it? Now, there's going to be some hippies out there that'll argue that, yeah, because they got more life experience. And they definitely did, because I spent my entire 20s right here. But I'll tell you something. I think that the Aesop's fable is correct in that the grasshopper is going to really regret it when it comes winter, whereas the squirrel won't. And the winter is the rest of your life. That is when you are supposed to be setting yourself up for the rest of your life. That is your 20s. That is where it's one of the key points of this video series that is never ending. Get yourself a skill. Get really, really good at that skill, because it will take you about 7 years to get really, really good at that skill, and that pops you at about 27. That's what happened to me with my comedic skills. I think up until about 28, I was pretty crap. And this is the difference when it comes to a comedian, yeah? A comedian, everybody can get up on stage and kill for 5 minutes. Can you do it for an hour? And if you aren't killing for an hour, because that's all right, that's what happens on stage, do you have the skills to keep people entertained for the whole hour? Are you good enough that people walk out and think, that was great? That is the true skill, as Steve Martin points out about comedians. The true skill is that you are able to do a decent job most of the time. I'm talking 99% of the time. You will have your off days, everyone does, but the difference of that, like, oh, I killed that night, oh, I bombed, oh yeah, that one was mad. If it's just this kind of like, yeah, that's what you're looking for. That's the true skill. And I would imagine that that is pretty much the exact trajectory in all of the skills that you are following. The thing is, there is no magic pill. Nothing. There's all of these things that are always just put in front of you of like, if you get this, you'll be happy. If you get this, you'll be successful. All of that stuff. No, take it all aside. There is no substitute for it. There is no substitute for accumulating a skill. That is what you should be doing in your 20s. Because if you don't do it in your 20s, by the time you get into your 30s, it starts to become a little too late. You're starting to curdle. You are getting to that stage where it's like, you better put a ring on it, honey. Like, you just have to get into the adult phase of your life. You have to slowly transition into it. The 20s you can piss away. That's fine. But as Jordan Peterson says, a man-child at 25 is acceptable. A man-child at 30 is getting very tragic and sad. It is. Like, the people I know that are my age, that just through the wind, their life is pretty much the same as when they were 19. They have slightly more money than 19, but they still drink goon in the park. That's mad. I think let's stop getting mad at about 21. What you want to be doing is just putting all of your effort in your prime years into accumulating something. That's what you want to be doing, because then you want to get to your 30s of just reaping those rewards, and then in your 40s just teaching the next generation, and then in your 50s just being a godfather done. You have to go up on that trajectory, because if you don't and you hit your 30s, everything is delayed by 10 years. And the problem with everything being delayed by 10 years is that somebody else is already crushing it in front of you. And they have the energy of a 20-year-old when you are 30, doing the same thing that they are. And you were supposed to have all of these other things ahead in your life as well, because, tick, 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 all that kind of stuff. That's why I think that you would be far better, and obviously this is from my perspective, but I really do think that you got to be the squirrel. Be the squirrel in the Aesop's fable. That's the reason that he was the good guy in it. Even though Grasshopper seemed like a nice guy. There are a lot of grasshoppers. But the other thing that I think as well is that the grasshoppers really are just a drain on society, and they don't really change their entire life. They're just grasshoppers and then usually die early. Do you want to die early? No. Then I think that you do that, because the other thing that happens when you start perfecting a skill is you start enjoying it as well. You start enjoying doing this skill. And so you start thinking, oh my God, there's so much more room for scope, because everything in life, I really do think, is just jumping from one stone to the other in the dark with a torchlight in front of it. You don't really know where your life is going. You just have to jump onto the next bit and then jump onto the next bit. There is that level of uncertainty that is there. And what happens when you start narrowly focusing in on a skill is that you are able, when you are jumping from stone to stone, do it in confidence, as opposed to the other people that are like, oh, I work at Taco Bell. Yeah? Anyway, that's my advice to you. I think that the most valuable piece of advice that I would give myself again was steer the course, because, and this is how I know I'm right, there are so many people that did that in their 20s, and they look at me and they think, and they tell me as well, I wish I did what you did. I don't think that when I look at them. 5% of me does. 5% of me thinks, oh, I should have partied a little more. But the problem is that when you start partying a little more, you start partying a little more. And every hour that you are, someone else is studying, presumably in Hong Kong/China, and they are getting ahead. You do need to know that about your little time factors. So if you have that little pressure in your mind of, I'm not doing enough, that's a good place to be. The people that aren't, and just know, most people aren't. Most people are always trying to think, oh, I'm working so hard, I'm so big. Those people are the grasshoppers. Because people that turn into that squirrel are constantly thinking, holy shit, winter's coming, I've got to do something. Now, that is a mindset that is guaranteed to make you a winner. Yeah? Definitely guaranteed to make you a winner. I'm not doing enough. Got to keep getting good at the skill. Got to keep, getting all of those little grains of corn that I can eat. I don't know what squirrels eat. Look, I'm not from the same country, but you get what I'm saying. That's the message. And if you want more of those, go to Jordan Shanks' self-help channel. Links below in the description. You can sign up for 1 or 2 videos, and I highly recommend you do. I can't recommend anything more. This is what I'm passionate about in life. Making that little message that I get at the bottom of all of these comments, if you go through it, you'll see it over and over. A bunch of people saying, I started watching this a year ago, look at me now. They make marked improvement. And the really exciting thing about that is the more improvement you make, the more it starts to build on itself. A snowball effect. And the Jordan Shanks Self-Help Channel, best ideas in it. You should sign up to it. You really should. Do you think that you're worth $2 to $5 a week? I think you are. I think that you're not poor enough to do it. You should do that. I wish that I had one of these programs when I was going through all of this, but I just had to scare it through the library, which you can also do. And then people always say, yeah, just get it from the library. Yeah, you can, but you can just get the shortcut for like $2 a week. But you could spend 14 hours a week reading like I did in my 20s. That's up to you. All right, see you around.